Super Cycling. Proudly brought to you by Liberty Life. Only on Supersport.
Well, hello there and welcome to another action-packed edition of Super Cycling. I'm Leigh Paulick, again in with you this week instead of Arnold Geertz. Wonderful to be with you. We do have a bumper edition of the show planned for you tonight. Most of it will be taken up with an exclusive interview that was conducted with Lance Armstrong prior to his victory in the Tour de France last year. And then we chat to another guy who pretty much is also synonymous with the world of cycling, Mr. Phil Liggett. We'll be chatting to him at his home in London. So some wonderful stuff to look forward to. But we start off the show with a look at our news stories. First up, Minnaar retains lead in World Cup. Greg Minnaar finished fourth in the third round of the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup in Schladming, Austria over the weekend after a crash early in the race, yet still earned enough points to hold the series lead before moving across the Atlantic Ocean for round 4 in 2 weeks. For Greg, his run started with a small mistake in the first 150 meters of the course, where a small lapse of concentration found him on the ground in one of the tight switchback corners. He recovered quickly, but it was already valuable time lost. Greg's time of 4 minutes 14.95 seconds was good enough for fourth place behind 3 talented Australians. Winning the race with an extraordinary performance was Sam Hill, who took maximum points this week. And unheralded Spaniard Inigo Landaluz won the Dauphine Libéré on Sunday as Lance Armstrong and the other Tour de France favourites tested their form 3 weeks before the big race. Attacked by Armstrong, Colombian Santiago Botero, American Levi Leipheimer and Kazakh Alexander Vinokurov in the ninth climbs of the 128-kilometre 7th and final stage to Salanches, Landaluz never panicked. At the finish line, the Basque rider beat Botero by a slim 11 seconds, with Leipheimer third, 41 seconds behind, and Armstrong fourth, 59 seconds adrift. Right, so that then was a look at some of the big stories. There is some other news going about at the moment as well. I'll leave it up to the 2 experts in the studio to tell us all about it. Andrew Mclean and Owen Hannie, wonderful to see you as always. Andrew, what else has been happening?
Well, overseas really it's the 2 big showdowns, Dauphine Libéré, which is Lance and his team's last really big preparations for the Tour de France, and happening right at the moment is the Tour de Suisse, where Jan Ullrich and a lot of his teammates are busy with their final preparations. And I don't think ever before the Tour de France has been as wide open as it is this year. And to look at some of those results, Jan Ullrich's leading the Tour de Suisse as of now. It might change a little bit later on. And then to look through the Dauphine Libéré, Santiago Botero, Floyd Landis, Levi Leipheimer, Lance Armstrong, Vinokurov. There's just so many good riders with good form at the moment. And I can't remember in the last 6-7 years that Lance has had to defend that title, whether it's been as open as it is this year. So I think everything poised perfectly for our exclusive coverage of the Tour de France.
And now you also have some news with regards to some the South Africans are doing really well at the moment.
Oh, it's good to see that the Africans have found themselves up in the top of the leaders list in some races overseas. Duncan Viljoen finished second in a French Cup race, and James Perry also finished in the run-up spot in the Renega race, which is a 2.2 tour in Norway. So the Konica Minolta guys are doing very well overseas. Bottlewall been very quiet recently, but I'm sure they are taking part in races. But it's good to see that we'll have some South Africans preparing before the World Championships and whatever races take place after Tour de France. So we'll see what happens then later on in the season.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew, you also have some news with regards to some beginners clinics.
Absolutely. We've got the Super Cycling Beginners Clinics, and those are coming up on the 1st and 3rd Saturday of every month. And they're absolutely free. We're holding them at Cycle Lab 4ways at 7 o'clock. If you need more information on that, just send an email to club@cyclelab.com. We'll give you all the information. For anybody who wants to get into the sport, you are absolutely welcome.
Well, a wonderful way of breaking into the sport of cycling. Right, well, coming up in August, we have an exciting race to look forward to, the Tour de Kruger, which takes place over 4 days in the Kruger National Park as well as the Transfer Peace Park. Let's join Colin Bell now to find out more about it.
The entire funds for this whole ride are going to 2 worthy charities, one to the Peace Parks and one to a children's environmental program. It's a ride which is taking place from the 11th of August to the 16th of August this year. And we start in the Kruger Park, and there's a new border post opening up between the Kruger and Mozambique as part of the Peace Parks and the Transfrontier work. And we're going to be the first people to ever go through on this route. No vehicles, no cars have ever done this whole route, and we're going to be the first guys going through on the 12th of August. We meet on the 11th of August at the camp in the Kruger Park. Everybody gets together, we talk about the ride. That evening we have a sort of welcome dinner, and the next morning we head off. And we cover 350 odd kilometers now, and we've done the recce this last weekend, the final recce. And we go through some countryside which people have never been through on little tiny tracks in the middle of nowhere through some fantastic countryside. In parts there's some quite heavy game concentrations, in parts we're going through little villages, in parts we're going through just wonderful open countryside. So it's a ride for people who've got a sense of adventure, people who want to do something very, very different, and also who want to raise money for two really worthy causes. Every day is different. The first day is just over 80 Ks, and it's on reasonable gravel roads with a tiny bit of sand, but the actual surface is pretty good. Next day is 94, then we got 2 days of 60, 63 or 64, but the one day of 63, there's going to be a one route for the advanced riders. Advanced riders will probably end up doing about 100 Ks, and it's going to be through quite some tough terrain, through incredible scenery. So on one day we're going to split up between the advanced and the slackers at the back, which will be me. And so we'll split it out, because the one particular route is quite interesting and through countryside, which is truly spectacular, but the route is over quite rocky terrain and stuff like that. So essentially about 350 Ks, although the advanced guys will go up to about 400, and divided into nice stages. And every 20 Ks we'll have a drink stop, and there'll be lunch stops en route. The folk who are behind us and helping us a lot with the logistics are the Cape Classic fellows. So we're using their tents and a lot of their equipment and their backup and their expertise. So a lot of the backup will come from them. But I think between the Land Rovers Owners Association, between the Cape Classic and our own safari fellows, we'll be able to put together a really good infrastructure and backup for these folks. Even though the race is only on the 11th of August, we've got to have final entries by the 1st of July. So on the 1st of July, it's either the first 200 who sign up, or it's the cut-off date. And if we only have, say, 140 on the 1st of July, that's it. We can't go over that. So the crucial thing is to sign up and get that in early, because we can't go later because we've got border and park implications.
So the Tour de Kruger there coming up in August. Looks like it'll be a goodie, and you'll probably have an opportunity as well to spot some of the big five, although I'm sure they'll also be spotting you. You think that could be a bit of a problem?
Absolutely. I see you called it the Cape Classic, but clearly the Cape Epic, and you'll be getting involved in helping with the logistics a little bit there.
Yeah, I think it's a great event. I mean, it's a great company that's putting it on, and they're doing it for a great cause.
Absolutely.
And when they said, can you help out? We've got a lot of equipment, from the Cape Epic.
In a storeroom somewhere.
In a storeroom in Cape Town. So we figured out, let's get involved. Let's send some.
But it's for a great cause. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been a good event.
Speaking about the Epic, let's start off with the new route. You've plotted it. How does it compare to last year as a benchmark?
Well, I think it's slightly longer. We have ridden the route, so we've got all the stats for the Cape Epic 2006, and it is going to be slightly longer, and I don't think that's going to equal slightly more difficult. It's going to be a coastal route, so we're going to be staying at least 3 towns that are on the coast. In fact, probably the 3 most stunning locations between Knysna, it's excluding Knysna, so 3 locations in addition to Knysna on the coast. And it means it's going to be a little bit flatter, probably a little bit faster, but most definitely day 7 is going to be the most technical and longest and the toughest day.
Day 7, I see here, it says we've got to climb for 48% of it, and we climb 3,400 meters. Is
yes,
that right?
That'll be the highest climbing ever in the Epic. To date, the highest amount of the highest altitude we've climbed in a day has been about 3,000 meters, over 130 kilometers. And day 7 of Cape Epic 2006 will be 3,400 meters of climbing.
Kevin, at the last Cape Epic, there was a big talk about the Road Cape Epic taking place in 2006. Is that going to take place, or is it not really going to happen?
Unfortunately, we've had to pull that idea. We were really excited about it. I think we're going to create a true cycling festival with 800 mountain bikers, 800 road cyclists coming together and sharing campsites and sharing the logistics. But we've really been planning for it. I mean, logistically, I think a lot of people thought that would be a big challenge. Sure, it would have been, but we have been planning it for, in fact, a year we've been planning for the road race.
Maybe more of a challenge for you than the riders. But let's just speak about entries, because they are open. Where can they enter? How do you go about it?
Basically, go to our website. Because of the demand we had last year, we're using a public lottery apply to ride process, and all the funds, it's going to be a 20 Rand application fee, and all of that goes straight to the Bicycling Empowerment Network. So we're almost using the fact that we've got such a demand for entries, using it to raise money for our partner charity, the Bicycling Empowerment Network. And it's simple, you just apply to a ride, and on the 7th of July that'll be closing. And in fact, people should apply to ride as soon as possible, but after that date it will be a public lottery and people will receive invitations if they did apply to ride.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. Kevin Vermaak, Race Director of the Cape Epic, thanks so much for joining us here in the studio.
Thank you again.
Right, well, time now for us to take a breather, and we do so, as always, via a crash. And here's a cyclist enjoying some mud pies. You're watching Super Cycling. Hello and welcome if you have just joined us. Well, someone who has just joined us here in the studio is Sean Badenhorst, who is the editor of Bicycling magazine. Wonderful to have you here. Of course, with the Tour de France coming up, you guys produce a supplement to your actual main edition. Tell us a bit about what we can expect between the two covers.
Well, basically, we've gone into the fans' home by giving them a proper guide as to exactly what's going to be happening every day, what the TV times are when they can catch the live coverage. Obviously, Supersport's got over 70 hours of live coverage, highlights coverage in the evenings and the next morning early if you're an early riser. And then there's, of course, a whole bunch of information on teams, the top contenders, and historical facts and bits and pieces of information.
Sean, I see in this supplement you've done a lot of research on, I think, in fact, you've got 15 top contenders, which I agree. I've never seen it more wide open. But since you've done all the research for us, give us your top three.
Well, it's a difficult one to say, obviously, but you'd be crazy not to go with Armstrong as the favourite again. And then I would say probably Vinokurov and Ulrich, probably because they got the experience and the strength, and I think that's what's going to count in the end. I think the newer, younger guys may struggle a bit.
Just on it, I see quite a nice thing is you've got a place every day to put in the leaders of all the competitions and explained all the competitions, which is really nice to follow the tour.
Yeah, I think it's important to have an interactive aspect to the magazine so that people feel compelled to look at it every day and hopefully pick up something new. If they're reading stuff during an ad break, they might pick up something new and just enrich their Tour de France viewing experience.
Sean, I must congratulate you on this great magazine that you brought out. But if I had to go out and buy, where would I go buy it, and what would it cost me?
It's on the newsstand wherever you would buy a normal bicycling magazine. It's at all those same outlets, and it costs $29.95.
Congratulations.
Great.
Wonderful. Well, Sean, thanks so much for joining us here in the studio, and we appeal to everybody out there to go and grab yourself a copy of that, because I'm sure it will be selling like hotcakes. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Right, so the one that we have been waiting for, the exclusive interview with Lance Armstrong, is coming up next. This was conducted prior to last year's Tour de France, and it was done by the renowned British journalist Alistair Campbell. Very in-depth and very personal. Let's take a look.
Lance Armstrong was a fairly successful professional cyclist. Then in October 1996, he was diagnosed with cancer of the testicle, brain and lungs.
I think a conditioned athlete handles chemotherapy better than an unconditioned person.
He came close to death.
There were days where I thought I wasn't going to make it.
But fought back hard.
Pain and suffering, that's part of what we do.
And has gone on to become one of only 5 men to win the Tour de France 5 times. Tomorrow, the 32-year-old Texan sets out to make history by winning the 6th.
I think this is going to be the hardest one yet.
I spoke to him a few days ago in Belgium. Now, Lance, you were a very, very good cyclist. Then you got cancer, and you came back, and became one of the great cyclists. Now, what was it about the cancer that changed the cycling?
The illness changed me in many ways, physically, emotionally, professionally. Changed me, changed the way that I get up every day and look at my job, look at something as simple as a bicycle. I was an athlete before I was diagnosed, so when I was sick, I equated all of that to a sport, to a race. And it was me versus the cancer. Me, who I thought was the good guy, versus cancer, who I thought was the bad guy. And I considered everything a competition. And I went out and searched for the best doctors, just like as an athlete, you would go out and search for the best trainers, for the best technology. You would have that on your side, because we're going to throw everything we can at this guy. And if we start the race, let's just say it's a marathon, and you get to mile 10, you want to know how far ahead of the guy you are or how far behind the guy you are. So the whole time, I was looking at this as if he was the enemy, and I was checking myself. When we did chest x-rays, I was in there with the doctors comparing. When they did the blood work, I said, I want the results immediately, because I learned how to look at the results. I don't know if the doctors particularly enjoyed that or not, but I think in the end they want a patient that wants to live. They want a patient that cares about themselves, cares about their future.
So you say then you were driven by the fear of dying, or the fear of this illness beating you?
I tell you, in the very beginning, I was really afraid to die at times, but once I got to a point where I felt like I was on top of the illness, it was just like a sporting event where you had momentum and you had confidence, and I didn't feel like I could be stopped. I didn't. I mean, I thought, I've got this thing. I am kicking its ass. I really did. And the doctors confirmed that. I said, guys, just tell me. Tell me I'm doing great. Tell me it's going away. They're like, look, we've never seen anything like it. You're doing great. And I would just go home with that, and that was, you know, we got to the halfway point of the marathon, and I was 30 seconds up on the guy, and I hadn't even started to run hard.
What was it actually like the moment of being told you've got cancer?
Well, I was a little bit in disbelief. I mean, obviously, nobody would joke about that. But I asked him, obviously, I said, are you sure? Could there be any mix-ups here? Can we do some other tests? Could it be another problem? That's when he then took out the chest x-rays out of the large manila folder and put them on the white screen. And, you know, you see the lungs riddled with tumors. And then I didn't have any more questions. I mean, then I was confident in his diagnosis, and he was very direct and very blunt, and said I have surgery the next morning at 7:30 a.m. So at that point, I said, okay, this guy's he's not joking around.
And how did you feel when that's happening?
Well, I was numb. I mean, I remember leaving the doctor's office and driving home. I say I remember. I remember getting in the car, but I don't remember the drive at all. I remember getting to my house, walking in the door. The phone was ringing when I walked in the door, and I thought, God, this is just the worst timing. It ended up being a good friend of mine. I picked up the phone, and then I just broke down and explained to the first person that I had talked to what had happened and what was going to happen. And then from that point on, it was a chain reaction. A few more friends knew. My mother then knew. She came down from Dallas. And we just started the whole process.
What's the thing that changes you up top?
Well, it reminded me that as an athlete, especially as an athlete, you only have a short period of time to make hay. And I knew that perhaps before I took that for granted. I took my talent for granted. Didn't work as hard as I could have. And that's a shame. But when I came back out of the other side and I said, okay, I've got another chance at not just cycling, but I've got another chance at life. For me, this was such a wake-up call, and I was able to focus and be even more obsessed and possessed than I'd ever been.
You used the phrase there about coming out the other side. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a time when you thought you weren't going to get out the other side? You're going to die?
There were days where I thought I wasn't going to make it, and I think that's normal and natural. I mean, there were days that I had just layer after layer of bad news, and I think you have to prepare yourself to die, because if they tell you your odds are 50-50, while you remain optimistic and you want to be a fighter and you want to live and you say all the right things, the days are long and you have to lay there sometimes and say, you know what, I might not make it, and you have to be realistic.
What I find extraordinary is you can go through something like that and you still, when you talk, you come out the other side and you say it's the best thing that ever happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
When there's all the kind of pain and the grief and the worry and,
right.
and the rest of it. So how do you internalize it as being the best thing that ever happened to you?
Well, I think it was obviously it was a life-altering experience, and for me, I consider my life to be much better, much greater, much more fulfilling now than it was then. It's been a fast few years, and then it's not been perfect. I mean, I've had a marriage fall apart. I've had this year where I'm in Europe part of the time and my kids are in the States. So it's not been perfect, but I still think that day, October 2nd, 1996, was a great day. It was something that changed my life forever and made me a different person, made me a different athlete.
Is there something in you that helped you get through it? A lot of people don't get through that. They get the same diagnosis, they're shown the same x-rays, and they end up not making it.
I don't know why I made it, and for example, a kid with the same situation, same age, same sort of sporting background, he doesn't make it. I don't think anybody knows that answer.
Did cycling cost you your marriage?
It probably led to it. It's hard to say because I don't know any other. I didn't know another way. I mean, I was a cyclist, and cyclists lead difficult lives. Gone a lot, training camps a lot, races a lot of time away.
I mean, you obviously hate failure. How much is there a sense of personal failure that your marriage didn't stand up to it?
A lot. I still look back on the marriage, on the relationship, and say, okay, where did I go wrong? And now that I'm in another relationship, it's amazing what I've learned just in 8 months' time, or 10 months' time, or 12 months' time, about the value of communication and relationships, and really respecting the other person. And as an athlete, it's hard. Athletes have to be sometimes very selfish, especially in one that participates in a sport that's so difficult. And then you add children into the equation, and it's a challenging time.
But how tough is that? I mean, we went 5 minutes in the kitchen. You were showing me pictures of your kids on the beach and stuff. How hard is it?
It's hard now because I'm away. It's very hard to be 2 months or 3 months away from Texas, and they stay in Texas. That's the bad news. I mean, the good news is that I won't do this forever, and in a relatively short amount of time, I'll be back home and see them almost daily.
Of course, you're now a very lucky man. You're in a relationship with Sheryl Crow, the rock singer. Are you less selfish with her than you were with your wife?
Well, I think so. I think I've learned just how to be a better mate. But Cheryl's also different because she has a big life too. I mean, she's constantly busy, and she'll be doing this for a lot longer than I compete on the bike.
Can I just ask a bit about your dad, who left you when you were very, very young,
Mm-hmm.
and you've never had the slightest desire to see him,
Mm-hmm.
talk to your mother about him? It's like he's just a non-person, even though he brought you into the world.
I mean, I'm very close to my mom. We talk all the time. We could easily sit down and say, okay, tell me about him. It's just never come up. It's never been my desire. It's never been in my heart to say, I want to know.
But why don't you want to know?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I've never wanted to know. I don't care much. He left when I was very young. In my mind, in my brain, in my eyes, I have no image of him. I was less than one. I have no. If you walked in the room today, I would have no idea. Perhaps I'm a freak in that I can just cut that off. I didn't grow up feeling inferior or insecure because I didn't have a dad. For me, it was a non-issue.
Do you think you're obsessive?
Yeah.
Proud of it?
Yeah.
How do you define your obsessiveness?
Well, I like to be involved in every decision. When it comes to the team, I want to know everything that's going on. When it comes to equipment, I want to know everything that's going on. When it comes to something as minuscule as a travel plan, I want to know what's going on. Why is it that way? Well, what if we did this? What if we did that? So that kind of stuff drives people crazy. But if that's in your fiber, you can't change that. I mean, you can't say, okay, I'm going to be a passive, relaxed person. I don't care what happens today. Then you'd lose every bike race. I would lose every bike race I start.
Do you buy the idea that people who are obsessive are generally running away from something or running to something, or do you just think you're born that way and that's always going to be?
I've never heard that. I think we're all running away from something or running to something. I mean, in some sense or another.
But you're driven. If you have to work out why you are as driven as you are, where do you think it's coming from?
I don't know if it's that I absolutely want to win or if I just can't stand the notion of losing or just flat out scared of losing. And for me, scared is the right word, because scared means I have to go down and face my teammates that night at the dinner table and get up the next morning. And for example, if I lost 10 minutes one day on the Tour de France and we still had 10 days to go, we would know that I'm not going to win the Tour de France, and yet we would have to be there for 10 more days and try and salvage something.
But why is it so scary to see you? I don't quite understand why it's that scary to see your teammates when you've let them down. I mean, people do it the whole time.
I know, but we haven't had that experience. We almost had that experience last year. I mean, there were many days last year where I think some of them thought that it wasn't going to work out, and I was going to lose. We were going to lose the Tour, and it's not a lot of fun.
In your book and in interviews you've done, you're an atheist, right?
I'm not a big churchgoer.
But you don't believe in God?
It's safe to say I don't believe in God.
But you talk a lot, when you're talking about how you came through the illness and how you do your sport now, a lot of it is actually the language of religion. You talk about sacrifice, you talk about fear and pain being good for you. So where's all that coming from?
Well, I think those are all very normal human experiences. If you talk about sacrifice, for example, I mean, sacrifice is the things you do to become the best. For me, a sacrifice is, do you give up a life outside of your sport in order to be the best on the bike? Yeah. Absolutely. Do you give up dessert at dinner? Absolutely. Do you give up red wine during the season? I don't know. These are all little sacrifices. Pain and suffering, that's part of what we do. Who can argue that the Tour de France is not the toughest sporting event in the world? It's all about pain and suffering.
The way you're talking, you kind of seem a bit down on yourself in terms of where you are psychologically. Have you got to move up a gear yet?
I got to get, I have to step it up a little. I wasn't pleased with the way I felt in my final tune-up race. I didn't do poorly, but I didn't do great. I'd won that race in 2002, 2003, and I wasn't anywhere near winning this year. But I've had years like that. That's the good thing of having won 5 times in a row, because you can go back and say, okay, in '99, what did I feel like in mid-June? In 2000, what did I feel like in mid-June? My best year, 2001. Where was I in mid-June? And all of those years, you go back and you think about mid-June, and I realized I wasn't great. I was suffering then.
So you still feel like you could be on track?
I like to think so. I mean, I'm always optimistic. It's also something about having a poor performance and knowing that you've got to make that extra step. I mean, perhaps last year and the previous 2 years, I shouldn't have won this race, because maybe you back off a little bit. I wasn't great in 2002. I won by 5 minutes, but Ulrich wasn't there. Other guys weren't there. Last year, won the same race fairly easily. And you go and you get tested at the Tour. So, sometimes it takes bad performances to really kick you in the backside.
Is this not bugging you, the drugs thing coming up again? And I mean, you've never been able to escape this kind of
Our sport
shadow.
Can't escape it. Our sport can't. No sport is going to be able to escape it. And some sports are still immune, but cycling's certainly not one of them. Cycling's in the crosshairs. And I'm the guy that's won the biggest bike race in the world 5 years in a row, and it's knocking on history's door. So of course I'm going to be front and center.
But I suppose the thing is driven by the sense that given the sport is as tough as you've described it, given you've got to be so driven, focused, obsessive, and incredibly fit, that it's probably, if there are guys on who are being doped, that it's probably impossible to win it 5 years on the trot unless you're up to something. So that's the driving suspicion.
Well, you know what? I prefer to look at it a little bit like that, but a little bit differently, because I've been around a long time. You don't stay in a sport for 12 or 13 years if you're doped to the gills. You don't. That doesn't work that way. It's hard on the body. It's hard on the mind. The body doesn't recover from that stuff. There's no longevity in dope. It's not.
So how much does it bug you that it's just around you the whole time?
It ebbs and flows. I mean, there are years where it goes away. I mean, in the very beginning, in '99, it was the whole story of, well, wait a minute. This guy 2 years ago was on his deathbed. How can he then come back and win the hardest sporting event in the world? He's got to be doped. And that really bothered me. But it doesn't affect what I do every day. I mean, I still love my job. I'm still totally committed to it. I'd still die for my sport. I'll defend this sport for as long as I live. And the people who I care about, my friends and family and teammates, sponsors, they absolutely believe in me, and that's all that matters.
Well, you just said there you would die for your sport, which again is quite a big statement to make.
A big statement. I shouldn't have. When I said I'd die for my sport, I thought, well, wait a minute. I wouldn't, but I would. I do love the sport. I'm a fan of the sport. When I'm 40 years old, I'm going to be the guy that sits at the front of the TV and watches the Tour de France. I just love it. I am a fan.
How much does it mean to you to win the 6th Tour?
It would mean a lot, honestly. But I try not to look at the number 6. I try to just look at the Tour. And even more specifically, I try to look at just stages. I want to start the race. I want to get to a certain point in the race. And then I want to look to the first mountain stages, and then the second mountain stages, and then to the final time trial. And if I can break it down like that, then I hope that adds up to winning a tour. And if I win that tour, then we can add it up. And maybe that equals 6, maybe that equals 7. I don't know how many I do. But it would be daunting to say, I want to win 6 tours and do something that's never been done and break records that existed for a long time that people have tried to do, they can't do.
So how bad will it be if you don't win it?
It would not be good. Not be good. But I think this is going to be the hardest one yet. I think it's a hard course, and I think the guys, the other riders, the competition are tough this year.
Tougher than before.
Tougher than before. People are more serious. People are more focused on the tour. They're focusing on training, focusing on training camps, focusing on their bikes, focusing on the composition of their teams. Stuff that we started doing 5 years ago that we talked about. You start to see now that the template that we use has been replicated.
What's your gut feeling though, win or lose?
I don't know.
Do you normally know? If you win the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, did you know you were going to win?
You know, last year I thought I was going to win last year, and I barely won. And that was the first year that I thought I was going to win. Mm-hmm. I wasn't worried about it. I was relaxed. The guys, don't worry, we're going to win. And I got a haircut. So this time, I don't know.
What's it like, the tour? Just describe what it's like doing the tour.
Well, it's a huge event. So it's different than any other race. I mean, it's an event that has millions of spectators every day. It's an event that has media from all over the world. It's an event that has attention and pressure like no other. It's massive. So you feel that every day, and it's 22 days of that. But the first 10 days are critical in this bike race. It's dangerous, it's nervous. This year in the first 10 days we have cobblestone sections in the first week, which we've never done. It's a wild ride this year.
Does it hurt? Physically, how tough is it physically?
Most of the years, the first 4 years, it didn't really hurt. Last year it hurt bad. Last year I suffered almost the whole time because of crashes, of course. Had a couple close calls the time that I rode off into the field. Yeah. And then the final crash in the Pyrenees, the one day that I was lucky enough to get back up.
How much do you think about the other guys when you're out training?
Quite a lot. I mean, this time of year, we watch them, we look at the results. If it's on TV, we watch the TV. If we can't watch TV, we look at images on the internet, pictures.
And who are the guys you fear?
There's a lot of guys this year, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's good for the race. I think it's good for us. I think that it perhaps, especially if I'm not at my best, it spreads the responsibility of the race around. And we're not going to be the only team to control this race. There are other guys who think they can win the Tour, and that's good.
But Ulrich is the one that kind of keeps you awake at night.
He's never kept me awake at night. He's gotten me up early in the morning.
Yeah. But if you look back on your cancer, your marriage, your cycling career. Your cycling career is a huge success. Your marriage, sadly, a failure. Your cancer, you would say, was the great success. Mm-hmm. Beating cancer was the great success of your life. How do you bring those together now and try and look to a future beyond cycling?
Well, I think the important thing is to remember that cancer has been a success so far. I'm 8 years out, which is not, it's a long time, but it's not forever, and this thing could still come back on me, so I still know that. I'm still aware of that. I still respect the illness. I still keep tabs on it, just like all the other bad guys in the world. I don't know where that stacks up. I mean, cycling will end, and I will be a former racer, a retired cyclist that gets forgotten like every other athlete. And I know that. I mean, I know that very well, and I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared to be the guy. And even I look forward to the time where you walk in someplace and nobody turns around. Nobody wants a picture. Nobody wants an autograph. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature.
Is this your last tour?
I don't think so. I think there's some people that want this to be the last tour, but I hate to break it to them. I don't think so.
George is saying, what's keeping you, Lance? I'm round the corner before you. Come on through and enjoy the moment. You're the new leader of the Tour. It says it all. They are so much a friendly unit. It is all for one and one for all. Crosses the line in second place. They could now be first and second in the Tour.
Look at that. He's on the large chain ring.
Nobody knows what Armstrong thinks right now. He just shuts his mind out. Look at those American flags flying high now, as they've done for 5 years past. And I think there'll be an awful lot in Paris now, because Armstrong is going to become the first man ever to win the Tour de France 6 times.
Thought there was a slight smile on his lips when he heard that the Alpe d'Huez was going to be an individual time trial. waiting for the attack of Jan Ullrich to come, but it looks as if it's not going to materialise here this afternoon. Andries Kloden thought he had the victory, sloped the back over his shoulder just a little bit too late. Armstrong today, Phil, was full of absolute anger because he wanted his teammate Floyd Landis to win.
He would love to make this a 10th individual time trial victory, his 5th of this Tour de France.
Emphatic victory it is as well, because for Lance Armstrong it's the 5th time he's won the final time trial in the Tour de France over the last 6 years. It certainly was an incredible finish on the Champs-Élysées for one man by the name of Lance Armstrong, writing his name into the record books of the Tour de France. 6 straight wins. Nobody ever thought that would be done.
So an insightful look there into the man that is Lance Armstrong. Can he make it 7 in a row? We'll find out in the coming weeks, and that of course will be coming to your screens on the 2nd of July. We look forward to the start of the Tour de France. Time now for us to take a break. Going into the break, we have some Tour de France history, and on the other side of that, we chat with Phil Liggett.
The Tour de France is about to finish. It's the penultimate stage from Besançon to Troyes. The Tour slowly progresses towards the finish line. Jacques Godet is informed of the General de Gaulle's presence, and the President of the Republic was waiting in Colombey-les-Deux-Églises. Godet, after consultation, decided to neutralize the race and greet the General. It will have gone something like this. Hello, Mr. Nencini, you are going to win the Tour? Bravo. I followed you on television. Hello, Mr. Anglade, you made honor to your jersey of French champion. After a few minutes, the Tour was back on the road again, now headed towards Troyes. It is to date the only neutralization of the race in its history due to the presence of the President. And that evening, Antoine Blodin wrote, "It is good to have a President who does not let anything pass, especially not the Tour de France."
Super Cycling continues now, and as promised earlier, joining us on the line from London, we have Phil Liggett. Phil, hi, and welcome to Super Cycling.
Hi, Leanne. Nice to speak to you.
As always, yeah. Phil, just looking at Lance Armstrong at the moment, he said the next couple of weeks he's going to be taking it easy, kicking up his heels. Are you following the same sort of last-minute fine-tuning leading up to the event?
No, I'm just chasing all the riders around Europe at the moment. We paid a flying visit to Lance for 4 days, ending yesterday, and we came back home. And this weekend we're going to have a look at Jan Ullrich in the Tour of Switzerland and see how, well, he's riding very well. He's leading as I speak to you, but goodness knows what he was doing by the weekend. But we are all set for a head-to-head between Ullrich and Armstrong in the July Tour de France, because I think Armstrong is sitting on arguably his best ever condition. He's looking really good.
Phil, hello, Andrew here. And
hi, Andrew.
Phil, I agree with you. In fact, I was quite astounded to see just how good his condition was in Dauphine. I hadn't seen or heard much of him, and I thought maybe he had lost his way a little, but clearly he showed otherwise. And as he said, with a month to go, he can still take it up a few more notches. But I've never seen a tour with as many other contenders in good condition. Guys like Basso, Vinokourov, Jerez, Mayo, Leigh, Palmer, Kloden, Floyd Landis, and there's probably 3 or 4 I've left out of that group. Don't you think it's quite a wide open tour this year as well?
Well, it's true what you say, but the riders did throw everything at Lance in that Dauphiné on the Mont Ventoux, which was obviously a big test case for Lance, where I think he wanted to win, but he wasn't quite good enough to win. Then again, on a very tough stage that brought the riders down into Morzine. And I was there for those days, and although Lance was putting out one story to the press saying, I'm below top form and I'm finding it difficult to follow the rhythm of these guys when the climbs start because they're starting the climbs at full speed. But he was climbing back into the action. As the climb got longer, he started to move through the groups, and by the time he finished, he was alongside the guys who were winning. And I looked at him, and he wasn't breathing hard. This guy was holding a conversation as if he'd just ridden off a 2-minute ride down for a newspaper, not up Mont Ventoux or over the Col de Colombière as he was, or the Juplin, which a couple of years ago was almost the end of him in the Tour de France against Jan Ullrich. And those boys were trying to stretch Lance to the limit. I just have the feeling that Lance purposely didn't win the Dauphiné. He was just doing what he had to do. Now, he finished fourth. Well, a year ago he also finished fourth, but a year ago he was 2 minutes behind the winner, Mayo. This year he was just 59 seconds behind a rather surprise winner in Inigo Landaluza. I think that tells us he's got better condition than he had last year, and I think I suppose the other big thing is his team is absolutely superb. It's so strong. They got 1, 2, 3 on the last stage of the Dauphiné, having George Hincapie and Jaroslav Popovic lead on their own for half of the stage. Lance cleaned up in the sprint for third place. This is going to be a formidable squad.
Phil, this is Owen. I do believe that we have to congratulate you because you've been awarded your MBE recently by the Queen of England.
It's embarrassing. I'm delighted. I'd be absolutely telling fibs if I wasn't. I was over the moon on Saturday. I was just sorry I was in France and not back home here to enjoy some celebrating. It's a great honour, but I think it's recognition for what the voluntary work I do with a lot of other people, and it's not just me who should have got awarded but everybody else I work with in my other work. I sit on a national byways board, which is opening up cycle routes around Britain for cyclists. I'm president of the CTC, which is a 70,000-strong lobbying association to make sure cyclists get their rights on the public roads in Britain. And I see the work of some volunteers there and the time that they give, and they're the ones that should be getting the honour. But I'm delighted, and I'm certainly not sending it back, and I'm over the moon, I'll be absolutely honest. Little story, I've been for a ride this morning, and I rode into a coffee shop which was full of cyclists. The whole room stood up and saluted, and that was very embarrassing, but at least they were all friends of mine.
Oh, that is it. The psychological warfare has begun now before the Tour de France. Riders will look at the results from the Dauphiné Libéré as well as the Tour de Suisse. But how much can we read into those results before the Tour de France this year?
Well, you see, Lance does always ride them as preparation, and the Dauphiné is only completing 19 days of racing this year. Now, he has gone into the Tour with less. In 2000, I think it was, he went in with only 16 days of racing. He's fresh. Ullrich has seemingly, this year, timed his form. Now, Ullrich won the Tour of Switzerland last year, and then gradually got worse in the Tour de France. So it's very difficult, and Iban Mayo, who absolutely ate them alive in the Dauphiné last year, of course, didn't get round the Tour de France in July. You've got to have good form, but if you're on great form now, I think you've got it all wrong, and you're going to find it as the Tour unwinds, you're going to lose your form. Lance is ever mindful of that, and I think this time Ullrich is. Although he is leading this morning in the Tour de France, in the Tour of Switzerland, I think he'll lose that race. I don't think he'll want to push it all the way to the finish. They say that Iban Mayo is actually racing extremely well. The Spanish reckon he'll do a great Tour de France. He's certainly playing it low-key. We're hardly mentioning his name at all. I think it's going to be an extraordinary Tour. And Lance is the last man to say he's going to win it, by the way. He's just been placed in the Tours Italy in the past couple of twice, in fact. Joran Brunel has signed him to the team this year. He says this man is the future of our team when Lance goes. He's only a kid. He rode brilliantly to finish second on the last day of the Dauphiné. He's won the Tour of Catalonia this year. He's in to ride for Lance this time, rather like the old Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault in 1985, I guess. But he won't be allowed to win this year. It's going to be for Lance. But if Lance, for some reason, abandons the Tour de France, then Jaroslav will be the second man. And the other one they've got, and pinning a lot of hope in for the future, but not this year, he probably won't ride this year, is a kid called Tom Danielson. We call him the Durango Kid because he comes from Durango in Colorado, which is a real town made famous, fabled by the Wild West films. And this boy can do just about everything. He's won the Tour de Langkawi in the past. He's come to Lance's team. He won the Tour de Georgia this year, which may not sound a big race in America, but every top cyclist in America rode it, including Levi Leipheimer, Lance himself. who finished in the race as well. So, yeah, the boys are there to make the team continue after Lance leaves them. But make no mistake, Lance is still the captain of that squad until he retires.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. And Sir Phil, thank you so much for joining us here on Super Cycling. We look forward to chatting with you again soon.
That's lovely. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you. Bye then. Well, Andrew, would you like to take us through the online entries for this week?
Yeah, very briefly then. Might be the middle of winter, but we've got lots happening. One of the big ones coming up, of course, is the Powerade Cancer Lost City. So if you need one to set your sights on, then that would be a good one. Lots of other good events coming up later on in the year, the Vodacom Race for Victory and the Pick and Pay Amashova National Classic. This weekend is the USN Vets and Ladies Tour, and then we have the Pick and Pay Toti 69er later on.